All right, guys. This video. Maggie, stop it. Oh, she's not going to stop. All right. This video is clarification and maybe a modeling of annotation. Some of you had hinted in the extra credit that I offered last week, that you weren't sure like what to put down in the annotations. And so the more effective annotations you have, the easier it's going to be to understand. And so one of the things, I'm just going to kind of point out some things as I go. So what I did this week is I split up, there's only 4 scenes in Act 2. And so I put 2 scenes on one of these slides for annotations and then 2 scenes on another. That way it didn't look so cramped, because I got some feedback that was a little overwhelming. Maybe you would have preferred it, in different slides. This is just to give you more space to write. So when you go to this, both of these sites are really good. Okay. I like them both for different reasons. This site, one of the reasons I liked this, when you're maneuvering on this site, if you go down to the play menu over here, you can choose any scene. And that's nice. I also like it because it reads to you. So it's nice to hear, Shakespeare's meant to be heard and seen.
How goes the night, boy?
I can hear it anytime I see that icon. This, if I click right here, it will kind of give me some insight. And so these are probably helpful for annotations. Banquo hands his sword to his son so that he can kneel to pray for relief from the thoughts which are bothering him, because he talks about how there's something on his mind and he can't sleep. During Scotland at that time, this discussion is going to tell you that it was very violent. Kids knew it was violent. I mean, this is not a place, 11th century Scotland, you didn't survive long. Maybe you got to your 30s, 40s, 50s. I mean, that was pushing it. There was a lot of war, as we can see. I mean, that's what Duncan is fighting against the Norwegians with. So it's going to be, because it's violent, it would also be natural that Banquo is armed when he's outside, because you didn't know who was going to come up on you. So you had to be armed. So when you click, the reason I like this site, and it might be very helpful with your annotations, is because you can click these things and get more insight, right? The other thing that I like too, is there are parts where you can click, I'm trying to find it, I'm sorry, hold on. You can actually click performance and you'll watch someone read it. But even though I like this and that's nice and it's very interesting, there's also character interviews. I most definitely would click on these because it again gives you even more insight. And so those are nice.
Welcome back to the studio, Banquo.
Right? They're
Thanks
only
for
3 or 4 minutes long. So ultimately, when you're trying to learn, these are things that we would have done in class. We would have talked about Macbeth. We would have talked about Banquo and Fleance, which is Banquo's son. We would have gone in depth, right? But because you're online, these things are placed here for you to take advantage of and to watch. If you don't, that's just, may confuse you more, but it's really to get better clarification. So I encourage you to make use of those things. If you don't, if you choose, well, I want to see it. To me, I have to see it. I might watch it first and then go back to that site. That's fine. But also, if I just click here, it takes me to this site and I can select a scene. I don't need Act 1, Scene 1. So I'm going to go to select a scene. We're in Act 2. So I'm going to click Scene 1. It's going to bring it up. On the left-hand side, it's got the director's cut, so I can see everything, and then I can start my video. I have to see it. You have to see Shakespeare. Shakespeare was never meant to be just read. Okay. That's why we give you this. So if I were you, my suggestion would be to watch it once through, or every time, you stop. Okay. So as you're watching, you could watch it and then take annotations. So that's my suggestion for this. How you do it is up to you. Remember, you're finding your own style of annotation, but I would watch it first. And then I would go back and I would go back to, this over here, and I would start typing. One of the first things I would start typing is, it says list the characters. So I'm going to look at the director's cut over here. And I'm going to put like Banquo's in this scene, Fleance, which is his son. I might jot a note to myself and remember, oh yeah, that's Banquo's son. And Macbeth ends up being in this scene as well. Okay. So I would list all that, and I would kind of summarize what they're talking about. I would summarize the fact that, they can't sleep. Banquo can't sleep. Macbeth can't sleep. They're outside the castle right now. They're armed up, but they can't sleep. There's some other things that happen in this as well. Banquo and Fleance leave, and then it's just Macbeth. He dismisses his servant, and then he says, "Is this a dagger which I see before me? They handle toward my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still." Like he's talking, this is like, why do I have this dagger? Why do I see this dagger? It's an apparition. It's not really there. So it gives you insight to his mental and emotional state right now. And if you keep reading, then you would jot that down. So after you're reading, you would go back to this and you would start that, you would be like, oh, he sees a dagger. That's weird. That gives me some insight into his, emotional state. He must really, like, to me, he's torn between killing Duncan and he's not killing Duncan, but he's spurred on by his wife and his ambition. He's making these choices. And so I would jot all that down right here in that first box where it says what happens. And then I would explain my thoughts. I would add some of my thoughts. I might even add some textual evidence that might help me out later. So you're really just taking notes on the characters, the events, anything else you feel is important to remember, especially any lines that seem particularly powerful. So that's really all, these notes are yours. And if you're like, but I'm not understanding, or I need some more clarification, you have all of these that you can look at. Okay. I think you can even click on stuff down here and, oh, that's a resource. But I would make sure you're using these sources, right? Even right here, we go down a little bit. If we interview this character, if I'm on this website.
Welcome back, sir. As I'm sure our audience remembers,
he's interviewing Macbeth. Like, what are you thinking?
You and your wife have decided to kill King Duncan tonight. It's already very late in the evening. The party is over, and you're walking through your
I would watch these because it summarizes it in plain terms. So I would most definitely use that source as well. So if you see, I'm back and forth, I'm going to these resources. We put that there on purpose. But if you're struggling to understand the language, which, you're getting used to it, it's fine, then definitely use those resources. A lot of you took some really good notes. And so hopefully this helped a little bit. I'm not going to type things out because I want you to kind of figure, add your own. But as long as you are putting some solid attempt into telling me the characters that there, the events, the emotions, like what's going on, what seems to be important, plot events, so you can remember. Like if you had to look back for this for a test or a final project, hint, that you could look back and say, oh yeah, in this scene, blank, blank, and blank happened. These are your plot things, right? And anything else that you notice, anything that seems particularly interesting to you or stands out to you. If you notice metaphors, hey, jot them down. That's going to help you in the long run. So hopefully this clarified a little bit. If you have any questions, make sure you email me.